I don't know what I would say for strategy. I mean, for me, clear cutting has to stop, and that's it. You know, it has to stop all over the world. We not just never mind all of the companies, but we as humans have to say, what are we doing to ourselves? What are we doing to to our future generations? Because if we don't say stop, the companies aren't going to stop. Those are robots. Those people, their concern is making money, and that's all. And so, as citizens of a community, we can't sit back. I mean, there was a time when you could sit back and you'd say, well, it's got nothing to do with me, or no, Don, I won't work with you because your family were loggers at one time. We can't do that anymore. If we think of a place as our community, then we have to say stop, and by whatever means we have to stop it. And I have no clear answers except that, and I know from as a young woman, when I worked with elders or people that are my age and the age of the people who are trying to stop that, the activists in the Dumble area, their age, when we started working to try and stop clear cutting, we our elders told us the same thing. It's going to be too late pretty soon, and we're seeing that all over. It's all over the world, and if people don't do it together. So the strategy for me, if there's such a thing as a strategy, is your community strategies. Community and communities have to come together and say, we have to stop this. And you do that in all sorts of ways. Just like they destroy a community, you can destroy them the same way. And that one of the big ways is, why do we keep electing governments that allow this to happen? We think that we're changing because we're not voting for the Sask Party, but we're going to vote for NDP. NDP were also part of clear cutting, as you well remember, when we were working with the elders in Canoe Lake and that area, and the Liberals. I mean, all of those. Maybe it's time that we look at forcing governments to change their positions by the way that we vote. Look at how we're voting. I don't know, but I think about all these things. I just know that it doesn't matter what government it is, they're all going to sell our land and they're going to sell everything. Probably what's going to be left will be sold to China or someplace. Because there's corporations all over that you go to an area and you want to know who owns the land, and you find out that some corporation owns it. You didn't realize that before. All of this stuff is happening all around us. And it's not just here. It's any part of the world where there's forests, and only communities can do that. Only me can do that. By talking like this and by trying to help in whatever way I can. And Dumble has to work with Bodmin. Bodmin has to work with Ness Creek. They have to work with Park Valley. We have to spread out, and it seems impossible, but nothing is impossible.
There's a group of people in the Dumble area now who are interviewing people about the history and putting together a kind of a overview where everything came from. Do you have a personal message to them?
I think what they're doing is wonderful. I think that once we have history of place, we start to see it in a different way. And I know that when I left my community, I never wanted to come home again, because that was a place where we were dispossessed. It was a place where I lost my brothers and sisters. Our families were torn apart. I never wanted to come back. And I hated the people around there, because not one of them lifted a finger to try and to change what was happening to Indigenous people in that place. But over the years, you start to see things differently. You see that if we care about community and we care about children, we have to work together. And the one thing that I know is once I started to look, and I started out with when I wrote Half Breed, and I was slammed all over the place when Half Breed was published. I was told that I told lies, and even my own people were upset because there's a lot of shame. We were made to feel ashamed of being poor, and settler society didn't want to. They felt it wasn't their fault, but. I always tell people, if we know our history and we know about our place, then we start to protect it, and we realize that we're a community of people, just like that forest in Dumble, has birch trees and poplar trees and willows and all of these different trees are all different. But that diversity is what makes that forest beautiful and precious. And it's the same with us. We all live there together, and we, you start to see, for myself, I started to see that the good things that happened in that community with other people, and I came back, and for me that's a precious place. All we have for our families is the graveyard and the church. And I'm not a Catholic, and I certainly don't support anything that the Catholic Church has ever done. But that's where my family is buried. Mm-hmm. Some of them were non-Catholics, and we were able to bury them there. And so we go home every year, and I support financially or whatever to help what's happening in that little graveyard, because that's what's left of home for us. Some people can say we have land there. We didn't. We never had land there. That was our traditional territory at one time, but it was never it was our homeland, but it was never a place where we owned land. So my message is, when you know your history in a place, which is what the people in Dumble are trying to do, is what was this place before we came here, and what did it become after we were here? How did we treat each other? Let's put all those things on the table and be honest about it, and be able to say, okay, how do we change that and become a community that supports each other? It's almost like family counseling. You start to look at each other in different ways and realize that everybody has something to offer, and if we're going to save that forest, that's the only way that we can do it.
Have you got anything else to say?
No, except that I really send lots of prayers and strength to the people that are doing that work. I think that the work there, that's the most important work that they can be doing, and it's too bad that there's not a lot of money and, as usual, to do anything. But if there's anything I can do to help, I'm more than prepared to do that.
Thank you.
Hey